God explains the Rider Waite Tarot. That's the title of this video. I'm God, and I will talk about tarot. So, yeah, I saw a video on YouTube. A guy, his channel's Nick Jones 2, and he's talking about um, a tarot reader on TikTok called Alex in the Ordinary, and she put out a video saying that she has quit tarot. She had a lot of subscribers, over 1 million. Um, yeah, and she's she's following Jesus. So that's what she wants to do, and I'm very happy that she's made that choice. Um, I was Jesus Christ. Um, I want to talk about the Rider Waite. So I've got the giant Rider Waite tarot deck here. Um, I've got a lot of tarot decks. I've got thousands of pounds of tarot decks because I was forced to learn this. I was forced to learn about tarot. Um, I found out that I found out that I'm God. I found out about that when I was, well, I sort of started from 2019, 2020, 2021. It wasn't an overnight thing. I didn't figure it out in a day and think, "Oh wow, I'm good." It didn't happen like that. Um it was because the thing is I was actually reading the Bible. I was sort of becoming a Christian at the time, and that's when things got really, really crazy. Surprise, surprise. I wonder why that happened. Well, it's because demons didn't want me to know who I am. And so that's why it was such a crazy that's why everything went crazy when I started finding the truth. Um yeah, it's you know, obviously, yeah. Um I know I've got a lot of crazy looking videos on my YouTube channel. I need to clean it up. Um, I've done a lot of explaining over the years, trying to explain who I am, and I've been trying to battle all kinds of crazy magic. And so I've had to do things, just put out all kinds of strange videos trying to explain things that people, probably people think I'm totally insane for trying to explain all these weird things. Um, So, anyways, let's start with the tarot deck. I've got the 78 cards. I've got them in an order, so I can go through it and talk about it. Um, yeah. So, obviously, this video needs an introduction. So, the thing about tarot readers is that, people want to learn, people who learn tarot, they get, people, how do you, most people don't. Well, when people learn tarot, they learn the key words. Okay, I mean it's not hard. Quite. I've got decks where it's like, it's the Rider Waite tarot deck, and it will come with a bunch, or it's a tarot deck. It comes with a bunch of keywords, and it will tell you what the card could possibly be trying to tell you. Um, and so people often learn those keywords, and that is how they um, that helps them with their interpretation or intuition. Obviously, people have their own, people use their intuition to, um, when they're doing readings. And the thing is that you know, most of the time, most of the time, because most tarot readers, they don't love Jesus. They don't love Jesus Christ. And so their intuition, their thoughts that come out indicate that they are antichrists. Basically, they're anti Jesus Christ. Um, but obviously, it can work the other way as well, right? But yeah, the thing is, tarot. What is it? It's I'll start off here. I've got the Fool card, okay, as an example. It's the thing about tarot is, I mean, this is the thing, right? Anyone can make an oracle deck, and you get a blank cards, and you could just write words on them, and shuffle those instead, and that can, depending on how you make the deck, um, well, obviously that will, um, well, making a making a deck is, well, making a good usable deck is, it's not, I wouldn't say it's an easy thing really, but well, I've never really tried. Um, but I mean, look, the thing about tarot is its symbolism. I mean, yeah, okay, you got the words at the bottom on the major arcana, um, and yeah, I mean these are, the symbolism, and the thing is that, I mean, okay, so the Hierophant card is an example. People want to say, oh, that's a religious institution, or it's this or it's that, and it's like, well, the Hierophant the is the title of the high priest of the cult of Demeter. And so, this is the thing, it's mixed, all the symbolism, and all these pictures and the way these cards are designed, it's trying to mix good ideas with bad ideas, and it's and that's where the problem is. That is really, a lot of the, there's all the, it's a big problem for me, because um it, I mean, think of, why did God tell people, say, don't make idols, don't worship idols, don't do, be careful what you do, because what people like to do is, they like to create a corrupted image. They like to, they make something. Do you know what I mean? They make alterations. They change things. Um and because people do these things, they the water, you know the thing is that, if you got crystal clear water, if you're looking at a crystal, if you're standing at the lake or something like that, or by the seaside or something, if the water is crystal clear, you can see down to what's below the water. But if it's murky, and that's the thing, right? If people want to muddy the water, that people want to, well, this is I mean, I'm God, and I'm spirit. I'm the Holy Spirit. And the problem with, when people, you have, when they use tarot cards, and especially if they use tarot cards and they have bad intuition, or they have intuition that is opposing me, then all it does is, it's all about trying to uh, siphon energy from me, and basically make me invisible. Um, it's trying to make me, impossible to see. I'm impossible to, that's basically, it's just creating blockages. I'm trying to explain it the best way I can. Um, I mean, and this is the thing, the tarot deck it's very, what purpose does it really serve? Well, yeah, the thing is that, people spin their own stories, and people want, it's a manifestation tool, isn't it? It's a tool for manifesting, um because it's trying to identify yourself with God's energy, um and people make their stories, or yeah. So and obviously, this is all connected with astrology as well. And that's another, what is astrology? Astrology is, it's all spell work. That's all it is. It's a bunch of stories about star constellations. Um, and they are basically, well, yeah, they are spells. Um, and the thing is about tarot and astrology is that people want to divide things. Say, oh, you can't be the emperor unless you're Aries. Right? Aries is the emperor, and Leo is the sun, and Pisces is the hangman, and Scorpio is death, and Capricorn's the devil, and so Oh, when was Jesus's birthday? Oh, right, 25th of December. Oh, he's the devil. Do you know what I'm saying? It's all about trying to twist things. So that's a huge problem. And most tarot readers do not acknowledge how this is a problem. People just learn the keyword interpretations. You get your booklet with your tarot deck. You say, oh, what does this card mean? And what does that card mean? Oh, right. So now I've learned the deck. So now I'm ready to go. But the fact is, you don't really understand like why it's a problem. Um, why would God disapprove of the tarot deck, as an example? Well, I'm trying to explain why I have problems with astrology and tarot. Um, and, because well, that's the thing. It's a weapon to fight me with, basically. That's really what it is. I mean, man wanted to be like God. Man's like, oh, I wish I had God's man. I want God's power. I wanna identify. I wanna have manifestation power. I want money. I want success. How am I gonna get that? Well, through magic, through spells, creating illusions, alchemy, stories, all kinds of stuff. So, um, how do I want to? Well, have I finished my introduction yet? I don't know. Um, let me think. Let me think. Um, I mean, this is the other thing as well. I mean, what does it say? It says rider wait. Well, what does it mean to ride, and what does it mean to wait? I'm 38 years old. I'm God. The last relationship I was in with a woman was 14 years ago. Um, I am the rider wait, basically. Um, yeah, you know, this is a huge problem for me. So, yeah, yeah. So, I guess I should get started. Give me a second. So, yeah, the thing about tarot is, I mean, this is what I look on YouTube, look on the internet. You got tarot readers, and the thing is that people, they're going outside of the church. They don't want, they don't want to be of the church. They don't, but it's all about, it's like a cult. People having their own little cult it's like having your own little cult, and you have your own version of what you call spirituality, and you have tarot cards and oracle cards, and you pick what you like, and you leave what you don't, and it all gets mixed together with stories and this and that. um and people have there's a lot of different cults to pick from, if you know what I'm saying. um I mean, that's basically what tarot and oracle cards enables. You know what I mean? It's like, instead of going to the church, instead of reading the Bible, um, it becomes, oh, what does the tarot reader say? What does oh, well, and you can listen to so many tarot readers, and you find the one that you like the most, and yeah. Um, hmm. Thing is, tarot is a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing for people because um most people, their intuition isn't good enough. It's not good enough, or well, it, they're because they don't love Jesus Christ. That's where the problem stems from. um your intuition r- reflects that. If you don't love Jesus, then your intuition will show that. um I mean, that's the thing as well. I mean, you think about churches. There are people who go to churches who claim to be Christians. There are people who go to church, but they don't love Jesus Christ either. It can work. That happens as well. Um, there's a lot of people who are like that. Um, and the fact is that there are people who say that they love God and that they love Jesus, but they think someone else is Jesus. They think someone else is God. They wouldn't believe that I'm God. They would believe it's somebody else. Because there's someone who's trying to siphon my power, trying to pretend that they're me. And so there are all these so-called Christians who are like, oh yeah, that guy's God. Oh, we worship him. And they treat me like I'm the devil. Well, they treat me like I'm not God. Um, Basically. Yeah. Anyways, you know, devil, well, you know, yeah. What's the devil? Who's Satan? Well, it's me. I'm God. I'm Satan. I'm the devil. I'm it's all me really. But you know, the devil can just mean someone who's evil, right? Someone who is, someone who behaves like the devil, right? Um, yeah. Anyways, it's all word magic, um, stuff. Okay, so should I get on with these cards? I think I should. Okay, so first card, the Fool card. So when I in 2019, I didn't know anything about tarot cards back then. Um, I actually had an app on my phone back then, which I used to. It was like a tarot and astrology app, and it had like a fortune cookie app on it. And I used to use the fortune cookies on it. Um, but I didn't know anything about tarot, basically. I probably had like a brief look at it, and I just thought, what the heck is that? Um, had no real interest in it at all. I didn't think it would be any use. I didn't have any interest in looking at it. Um, but anyways, in 2019, I got attacked by demons, and I walked up to the cliffs one day because I wanted to go pray to God. I was living in Brighton, and I went towards the Seven Sisters cliffs. And I went on a long walk that day, and it's a story I've explained many times. Um, yeah, and so I didn't realize that day that I was participating in the magic of this card. That day, so that happened. Yeah. hmm So what does the Fool card mean? Yeah, most people think, oh, it's a new beginning, going on a new journey, or it's someone who's carefree, having fun, or it could be someone who's an idiot, or yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different interpretations that we can get with this card. The numbers are important. Yeah, so it's zero. The zero. Well, this is the thing, right? Because people do sodomy. And obviously, these cards are very connected with sex magic. And so, the zero, it represents the anus. And the fool, well, people like to fool around and do things. Yeah, fool around. Yeah, yeah, the zero is around, isn't it? People like to fool around. Yeah. Anyways, I need to get through these cards quickly, don't I? Yeah. Um, So this is the thing, right? The magician. Okay, he says he's number one, and obviously, this has the Roman numerals as well, right? So it says I am. Yeah. Okay, the magician. I mean, technically, you could say he's the second card, so he's a number. He's actually number two. I mean, this is the thing, right? The fool. It says that he's zero, and then we got one is the magician. Yeah, and it's I as well, right? I mean, the thing is, like, well, I've got, I have two eyeballs. Um, or some might say four eyes. Yeah. Anyways, the magician. I mean, look what he's got on the table. He's got the pentacle. So the pentagram. That's supposed to represent Earth, air, and that's the thing, right? Because the pentagram. Well, the pentacle is supposed to represent Earth, but then it has that star, the five-pointed star, the pentagram. And that's supposed to represent earth, air, fire, and water, and spirit. And that's all contained within the earth. Yeah, and then obviously he's got the cup, which is water. Well, the cup is supposed to represent water, the sword is supposed to represent air, and the wand is supposed to represent fire. The magician. Yeah. Um, hmm. Yeah. Um, I mean, how would you interpret this? I mean, normally when I do a reading and I get this card, I just think, well, the magician, someone's doing magic. What a surprise. Do you know what I mean? Like, how else are you going to read it? I could have a look in this booklet. What does it say? Um, this is, it has so many meanings. Skill, diplomacy, address, sickness, pain, loss, disaster, self-confidence, will, the querent himself, if male, blah blah blah. Um, yeah, yeah. You see, the thing is that because people have done so many tarot readings and they try to figure out, okay, what does this card mean and what does that card mean, and um, yeah, it's interesting because sometimes I look at some people's keywords and I think to myself, yeah, how did they arrive at that conclusion? Probably because they were getting readings that were telling them to stop reading. That's the thing, right? Because a lot of people are getting readings where it's like where spirit is trying to basically communicate with them, like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing this. What you're doing is bad. You need to stop this. And people are like, oh, so what does this mean? Oh, right. And people do mental gymnastics in order to keep, because they want to keep They don't want to believe that spirit is telling them to stop. They would rather believe something else, and so they invent idea. They do mental gymnastics. They invent they have invented interpretations, right? They interpret the cards in a way that that makes them feel happy. So um that happens quite often. People don't see what the cards are seeing, and it's they twist it. you know they will say, oh, this is talking about someone else, someone else, someone else. I mean, there are a whole bunch of tarot readers who will say, oh, I can't do readings for myself, I have to go to another tarot reader to get a reading for myself. How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? It's because they can't they why can't they read why can't a tarot, someone who's a tarot reader on YouTube and has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they will say, oh, I can't do a reading for myself, I have to go to someone else. Why is that? Why is that? They'll do readings for other people and get all the meanings twisted and get it all wrong, and just invent stories. um but and the reason they can't do a reading for themselves is because they they don't accept what spirit is trying to tell them. It's really that simple. Anyways, let's carry on here. Okay, so we got number 2, the high priestess. Okay, so this is to do with intuition. So this is the number 2 is connected with poo, with shit. um You see, I know this sounds, and I've tried to explain this so many times. I mean, even there, look, you can see she's got the crescent moon at her feet. This is all to do with moon magic, the butt, and crap. Okay, because, well, I'm God, and my crap is magic. My butt is magic. My throne is my butt. People talk about the Holy Spirit. Well, that there's all this magic. So the whole holy, well, it's my butt. Okay. Intuition. Intuition. Number 2. Okay. So I see that card. It could be talking about a woman. It could be talking about, or it could just be talking about intuition. Um. Yeah. Mm, so that's basically how I interpret that. Um. Well, yeah, and it means poo as well. Yeah. The Empress. Yeah. I don't think there's really much I need to say about that, really. The numbers are significant, okay? Because number 2, number 3. Let me give you an example, okay? So the 2 of Swords. Swords is to do with air. It's to do with logic and communication. Well, the idea of the 2 of Swords card is blocking. It's stalemate. It's being blindfolded. There's the X with the 2 swords. She has her back turned to the sea. These are, it's symbolic. It depicts a person who doesn't want to know the truth. Someone who's blocking. And so magically, because so how does the high priest, what's her logic and communication? Well, look at the 2 of swords, because it's the same number. And that's magic, because that's how these cards are designed. The number is important. And for instance, the Empress, will look at the 3 of swords. Okay, the 3 of swords is to do heartbreak and grief. It depicts a heart which is in the clouds. And so how women treat me is they want to hurt me, they want to break my heart. And because they do that, that is a magic thing, and then they'll pretend that they're this. They try to they want to communicate and think in the way that the Empress would, which is the Three of Swords. And so then they do that, they hurt me, and then they'll sit there and they'll think, oh, I'm the Empress, I'm special. And obviously, the Emperor, well, he's number 4. um this is an air this is interesting, isn't it? Because the Empress, this doesn't really have any astrological association. I mean, there's a symbol for Venus there, um, but it's only the Emperor. Oh, he's supposed to be Aries, right? So this is supposed to be an Aries card. Um, yeah, strange that. Anyways, so how does the Emperor communicate? Well, there's the Four of Swords. That depicts someone lying down, and because it depicts someone lying down, lying. If you're a liar, then well, it can mean two things, right? If I lie down on my bed, um that doesn't have anything to do with communication. That's just me resting. That's me resting. But the sword is to do with logic and communication. So that's the thing, lying. So, this is why there's so many liars in the world, is because they want to be me. Why is he associated with the ram? Jesus was, who was crucified, that was me, called the lamb, right? The lamb that was slain. Yeah, the lamb becomes the ram, the emperor. I mean, what more can I say about these cards? I mean, obviously, I can go through all the interpretations. Obviously, you can say, oh, authority and this and that, or the father figure, or, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go through all those keywords. Anyways, we've got the Hierophant here. So, yeah, I mean, he's supposed to be the high priest of the cult of Demeter. And that is, it's word magic. It's Demeter. It's I mean, this, you might as well just call him like the high priest of the Sodomite church or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's basically what it is. This is associated with Taurus, Tor us, and obviously the Torah, right, which you can see, which is depicted in the high priestess card. She's holding that scroll in her hand, right? It says Torah. And obviously Torah and tarot are words that are very, very similar. That's, yeah. So Taurus, this is to do with sodomy. And this is the thing, because, if you've read the Bible, you might be familiar with the fact that the crucifixion of Jesus Christ is associated with Sodom and Egypt. So sodomy and bondage. And so people do sex magic. Okay? And this is why people do sex magic. So, they want to pretend that they're the religious institution. I want this kind of power, right? People will do sex magic to get themselves into this type of magic power. I'm the high priest. I'm the the religious authority figure. Listen to me. I'm in charge. I'll tell you what to believe. Blah blah blah. And people do sex magic and all these things. Yeah. And obviously we got the Lovers card. So yeah, you know what the Lovers card is, right? I mean, yeah, Adam and Eve. Um, can I cover them here? Yeah, go on. So Adam and Eve in the Garden of, it depicts them in the garden. It's supposed to depict them in the Garden of Eden. There's a snake on the tree behind Eve. Um, yeah, I mean, why would that be a problem for me? Well, I'm God. Um, were Adam and Eve, were they my lovers? What's that about? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously the lovers card, why did it have to depict Adam and Eve? Why them? It could, you could have depicted any other people who are the lovers, but it had, the people who made this deck, they thought, oh, we'll depict Adam and Eve. And that's what they did. Yeah. Um, what can I say? What can I mean, the story of Adam and Eve is that they betrayed God. Um, they went against God. They went against me. They chose to do something that they were warned not to do. Um, the serpent told them, "Oh, eat this forbidden fruit, and you will be like God. You will be like gods, and your eyes will be opened." This is to do with magic. It's to do with manifestation power. You know, it's they had this opportunity to attack me with magic, and they were warned not to do that, and they did that. I want to be like God, so I'll do this. If this makes me more like God, then I'll do this thing, because I want to be God. And that's the thing, right? Because so people have had opportunities, haven't they? They've had opportunities to use magic and witchcraft and do all these things to try to obtain my power. Um, and that might make them happy for a while. That might make them, they might have some manifestation power. They might find that things go well for them for a while, but obviously that changes. I'm God, and if people have used magic to take my power, and all they've done is fight me with magic, then it's not going to end well for them. um it's a problem that I have to deal with. Right, so the chariot, yeah. um Number 7. So yeah, the number 7 is, the number 7 is, if you've read the book of Revelation, there's the 7 seals, there's the 7 angels, there's the 7 trumpets, there's the 7 bowls of wrath, the 7, the 7 stars, the 7 churches, the 7 spirits of God. The lamb in chapter 5, it talks about the lamb with 7 eyes and 7 horns, um, and so on. Okay, so 7 is it's connected with, it's supposed to be, there's this number magic with the number 7, basically. Obviously, if you've read the book of Ezekiel, it talks about the, there's that vision that Ezekiel has, and it's like the chariot of God. It's called the Merkaba. And so it sort of depicts God in this type of chariot, this type of vehicle, and it's surrounded with angels, creatures. Um, and so what, the chariot card, well, what does it really mean? It's about it's the vehicle. It's the vehicle, it's the car, it's the um also, so I mean, think about it. Israel, what's a railway? A train. A train's a vehicle, isn't it? Um, it's a ride, transport. So, yeah, the chariot, this is what it really means. It's the vehicle. It's also the bed. The bed is where, well, people ride in bed, don't they? Um, and also, the other thing about this card is that if you count the full card as number one, then what number is this? This is number eight, isn't it? This is the eighth card of the major arcana. It says seven there, VII. But technically it is the eighth card of the major arcana. And so this is connected with what I eat, my food. So, if you look at the card, his, if you, it's a very strange looking thing, isn't it? You got these two sphinxes down here, a black one and a white one. And you look at this chariot, you know, where, um, yeah, it looks almost like bedposts, doesn't it? It looks like one of those beds where it's got a sort of a canopy over it or whatever. Um, it's strange, isn't it? Because people think, oh, this is a chariot. It's moving forward. It's going somewhere. I look at this chariot and I think, it doesn't really look like it's going anywhere, really, does it? But anyways, it's associated with Cancer. Um, I'm actually a Cancer rising, and so if you've read about God, the chariot of fire, the story of Elijah, he went up to heaven in a chariot of fire. Well, yeah, that's an example. Um, there are various stories. People will talk about various stories of, there have been stories from all around the world about, um, you know, sky people coming down in what seems like a chariot of fire or something similar. Um, yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, I've explained that one. Strength. Well, the strength card it's number 8. It's it says number 8 there. It's a woman with the lion. Um, so this is called strength, and this because there are other decks. Obviously, there's the Thoth deck. It was made by Aleister Crowley. Um, and the in that deck, the card is number 11, and that one is called Lust. And it's a woman riding a what looks like a lion with 7 heads. And so, and it's supposed to depict the whore of Babylon. And so, yeah, there's this, and obviously, the woman with the lion, right? So, that could, if you say, oh, the woman with the lion, that could just be talking about a woman having sex with somebody, a man. Yeah, because he lies on her. right? And so strength, lust. And the thing is, in the Thoth deck, number 8 is called the adjustment card, and it is read as justice. So people have mixed the idea of strength and lust with the idea of justice and law. And so this is the thing, right? People have attacked me to hurt me, to siphon my energy. They've used all these different spells in combination with one another. They use all these spells to attack me, to try to siphon my energy. They try to, they're trying to steal my life force, my manifestation power, and then they use it to attack me. And, you know, it's awful. It's really awful. People want to, um, people want to harm me. Um, you know, well, this is the thing, right? Imagine someone disfigured you, and then afterwards they were like, um, people were like, well, we don't want to know you because you're ugly or something. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, you just fit, or you you try to ruin me, and then you're saying that you don't want to have anything to do with me now because I'm ruined. And it's like, well, you ruined me. You did this to me, and now you're gonna use that what you did to me. You're using that as an excuse to hate on me even more. It's like what? You know what I mean? It's sick. It's horrible how people treat me. They use all this horrible magic against me. Um, and it never had to be this way. It didn't have to be like this, but this is how people behave. Um, this is how the world behaved. This all started with Adam and Eve, right? They thought, oh, we'll steal God's manifestation power. We'll try to be like God. We'll do things, sinful things that we aren't supposed to be doing. Um, and we'll have a magic battle with God. And then people are like, yeah, but why does God treat Adam? Why did Adam and Eve get kicked out of the garden? Why is that? And you got people who are into Gnosticism who want to think like, oh yeah, no, the serpent was just trying to give Adam and Eve, you know, useful knowledge. God's just trying to hide His knowledge from everybody. You know what I mean? And you got people who think like that, which is it's evil. It's not um but it's evil, but it's people are obsessed with trying to do things they shouldn't do. It's like, oh, I want to have a battle with God. It's like that's a really bad idea. It's like, yeah, you're gonna cause me problems, and this is what happens, right? We got earthquakes happening around the world. We got all kinds of bad things happening, and it's we're in this magic battle, and there's destruction, there's pain, there's all kinds of terrible things that are happening. There are consequences for these actions. um I'm God. I require to be acknowledged. I can't, if people are gonna ignore me and try to put themselves above me, then all we're just gonna keep having battles and until it stops. So okay, so I've explained the strength card. The next card is the hermit card. Okay, number 9. Technically he's number 10. Yeah, he's number 10, isn't he? So the hermit. Look at the name. It. Well, M is a magic way of saying but. And I've already explained that Aaliyah Dana Houghton, she sits on my face. Her ghost. She sat on my face. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's interesting. So he's holding in his right hand that lantern with the star in it, and I'm holding this card in my hand. Um, anyways, it's a Virgo card. Yeah, Virgo. I'm a Virgo moon. Yeah, I'm a Virgo moon, and this is the thing because I have a well, I says I've got a gay butt. Um, I have a rainbow butt. So her, it. I mean, obviously, her is a way. You could say a gay man is her. Yeah. So her, it. It's my butt, and I behave like a hermit because I never go out. I rarely ever go outside. Um, because well, I have too much work to do, and um, there's no one I want to particularly socialize with. Um, yeah, so I tend to stay in the house. Even I know, yeah, the hermit. Yeah, I mean he's depicted outside, but I'm the hermit in the sense that I don't go outside. I don't associate with. I don't really socialize with people. Um, so yeah, I mean the hermit. He's it says IX, which means 9. Yeah, and obviously the Wheel of Fortune is X. Okay, this is the next card, the Wheel of Fortune. Um, it's depicted in the sky, in the clouds. I mean, you can see that thing there, right? It says tarot in one direction, and it says Torah in the other direction, and it also has the Tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vav He for Yahweh, the name of God, my name. Okay, Yahweh. So there's the Hebrew letters for that. Um, it's got the 4 living creatures, which it talks about in the book of Revelation, and there's this Anubis and this Sphinx, and there's this snake, and there's all these symbols around here. Yeah, and it's just, it's associated with X, and X is a very complicated thing to talk about because obviously people celebrate Christmas, and they'll call Christmas Xmas, right? And what does X mean? Well, X could mean so many different things, right? X is a cross, isn't it? X is a cross. Yeah, like the crucifix is, it's T shaped. But obviously, the X is associated with Saint Andrew. My cousin is called Andrew. He was Adam, and he was King David. So, people. This is the thing, right? Because people will decide. People want to say, "Well, I'm X," or people. The people. I mean, this is the thing, right? Ex girlfriend, ex friend, ex this, ex that. You know, um, X marks the spot. That's where you find the treasure. Yeah. Um, X X X. Yeah. Um, what else can we think about? Forex. Oh yeah, the currency markets. Oh yeah, Forex. Um, yeah, do you know what I mean? There's so many things you could say about the letter X, couldn't you? Um, it's associated with its planetary association is with Jupiter, and obviously Jupiter is connected with Zeus and Thor. You know, the god of thunder and lightning. Um, yeah, and this is people read this as oh, this is you're coming into this great fortune. People think, oh yeah, you're going to make a lot of money, but that's not necessarily what the card means. It's like if I did a reading where it's like, okay, I get like several cards and it tells me a story, and then the Wheel of Fortune card comes out, and then I get another, say, 5 cards, 10 cards, or whatever. The way I read this card is like, okay, so you have this one situation, And the Wheel of Fortune is, like, so what's the outcome? What's going to happen as a result of this story? Then you're going to have, it tells you what is the result. So, this doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to have loads of money. It doesn't necessarily, when this card comes out, the way you're supposed to read it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have loads of money in the bank or whatever. It could just basically be saying, okay, so what's going to happen? What's fate? What's destiny? What's going to happen in this situation? And, but people intend, there are people who intentionally read things incorrectly, because the only thing they're interested in is manifesting what they want. And there are various tarot readers who try to do that. They're only interested is talking about sexual relationships, money, and happiness. That's really all they care about. They don't want to know anything else. And that is not helpful. That is not helpful. I mean, the thing is, if you're doing readings and they're actually, you're actually getting the message out that needs to get out, messages that are important, then that's a good thing. That's helpful. But there are just too many people who are only interested in stealing by twisting stories. Um, they want to, they're projecting. There are a lot of tarot readers who are projecting. They'll just keep trying to hate on me and basically trying to tell me that I'm them. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Justice. Okay, so this is supposed to depict Lady Justice. So, this is a problem for me, obviously. I mean, like I've already explained the strength card and how that's connected with lust. The woman with the lion and how it's connected with food magic. And this is, obviously here's a woman. She's called Lady Justice. Well, I'm God. Okay, so what does lady mean? I mean, as a word, in terms of word magic, well, to lay, what does it mean to get laid? Right? To get laid means to have sex. Right? So Lady Justice. Do I really need to say any more about this? Do I really? I don't think I need to. People, this is why the cards are designed this way, because it's all about trying to use, it's all about trying to, people do sex magic. They, people try to use sex magic as a way to defeat me. It's like, oh well, if God, we'll make it so the woman wins, so God can't win because God's a man. So what we'll do is we'll set this up so we put the woman first, so that the woman, she'll win, and God has no way of winning because he's not a woman. But the thing is obviously, like I've explained, I've got a rainbow butt. And my mom, who's dead, she died in 2021. Her name was Fiona, and I'm male, so male. So yes, I've gone through all this magic as well, right? So in a sense, I am female, even though I'm male. My butt is Taurus, yeah, Taurus, the Hierophant, yeah. So obviously, all this magic has affected me, right? And this is what I'm trying to explain. So, the Hangman, number 12. That's the number of my house. That's where I live. It's a Pisces card. I mean, he's obviously, this is the thing, this doesn't depict Jesus Christ. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, why is it connected with Pisces? Pisces is also connected with the moon. Um, Pisces is the fish, right? The fish. Well, that's the thing, because in sodomy, you get things like anal fissures. Yeah, anal fissures. The Hanged Man. Well, this can be, if I went to the pub and I was socializing people with at the pub, you could say, "Oh, I'm the Hanged Man," or whoever I was hanging out with was the Hanged Man. So there's all this confusion, and this is why I stay away from people. I stay at home because I don't want people pulling on my energy. Um, I don't, I want to prevent people, there are a lot of people I want to prevent. I don't want them just freely walking in my energy, right? I don't want to just be handing out my energy just to everyone I walk past. Um, so I mean that's the thing. I have to protect myself. I mean, you know that if you read about if you look at the Old Testament, right? Think about the tent of the tabernacle as an example, and how the Israelites were told, like, okay, so if you're going to go, when you go to the tent of the tabernacle, you need to be prepared for this and that. You need to do it in a certain way. um yeah, I mean, think about it. It's my energy. um it, my energy has to be protected in a certain way, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So the next card, we got the Death card. Okay, it's the Scorpio card. I'm a Scorpio. Yeah. So, this is to do with death or rebirth, transformation. Um, yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of things you could say about this card. There's the two towers in the back there. You got the two towers, and there's the sun between those two towers. Yeah, it's yeah, and then there's just like this dead king. There's these children on their knees. Yeah, I never noticed that they're on their knees. And there's that priest there. Um, yeah, yeah. 13. Mm, yeah. What can I really say about this then? Well, you know what it says about God? It says that no one can see the face of God and live. So, I suppose this is kind of connected to that, isn't it? A bit. Um, because I have the face of death. Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's interesting. I've never thought of this before, but obviously, my sun sign is Scorpio, and the sun in this card, well, it's between these two towers. And obviously the two towers, well, it makes me think of what happened in New York on 9/11, and obviously Lord of the Rings, the second film's called The Two Towers. Um, yeah, anyways, the thing is, people do the other reason why people do sodomy is because it's a form of death magic. Um, because there's so many ways of explaining this. You see, the butt is considered my butt is the sun, it's the moon, it's the star. I mean, think about it. So I was Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is associated with my past. It's associated with what is behind me. He was called the Son of God. Son is two different words. Yeah? Jesus said, I am the light of the world. The sun in the sky. You will see him coming with the clouds. Yeah? Okay, so next we have the Temperance card. Sagittarius. I've got a few Sagittarius placements. I've got Venus in Sagittarius. I've got Uranus in Sagittarius. I've got another one in Sagittarius. I'm just trying to think which one it is. Is it Saturn? I think it's Saturn in Sagittarius. Yeah. Yeah. So, 1 foot on the land, 1 foot on the water. So, that is a reference, in the Bible. If, for instance, there's Revelation chapter 10, it talks about, he puts 1 foot on the land and 1 foot in the water. So this is to do with, or temperance is sort of like, moderation. This is sort of connected with the idea of balance. But it's also connected with art. It's connected with alchemy. So, for instance, in the Thoth deck, the title of this card is Art. And obviously, all the cards in the tarot deck are art. Yeah? So, yeah. Archangel Michael. This is supposed to depict Archangel Michael. He's got the symbol for the sun on his head, and then he's got that that symbol there for fire. I mean, Sagittarius is a fire sign. He's pouring from one cup into another cup. What more can I say about this card, really? Archangel Michael is actually behind me. He's here with me. He was Michael Jackson. And what happened to Michael? Well, people lied about him. People attacked him. And demons were after him. That's what happened. And he died from stress. Basically. Yeah. The leader of God's army. So, what more can I say about this? Well, my ex-girlfriend, she was a Sagittarius. Yeah. And the thing about Scorpio, well, Scorpio is the sign that comes before Sagittarius. So it goes Scorpio and then Sagittarius yeah. But the thing is, there's actually a sign that is supposed to be between Scorpio and Sagittarius. It's called Ophiuchus, and it's considered the 13th zodiac sign, and it's Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. So there's that magic as well, because obviously my ex-girlfriend, I'm a Scorpio, and I was with a Sagittarius, and serpent is a way of saying penis. So there's that magic as well. 15 is the devil. Yeah, let me just cover up the. So, there's you can see they have there's these two people and they've got chains around their necks. Um, if I just pull my finger, you can see that there's a chain around their neck. What people will say about this is they'll say, "Oh yeah, there's these people, they're trapped, and they've got these loose chains around their necks. They could escape if they wanted to." And that's the thing is that people want to read because obviously there's the Eight of Swords, which is to do with feeling trapped, being bound, and obviously that idea is in the Devil card as well. And people always want to say things like, "Oh, well, you could escape that trap. The chains aren't tight. You could just take them off and walk away." And yeah, in some cases, some people in some situations you might feel trapped, but then you might find that actually there's an easy way to get out of it. But obviously, that isn't the situation for everybody. Some people are actually trapped and they can't escape. Think about someone who's in prison or someone who's in stuck in someone's dungeon, as an example. Like some situations you can't get out of. And obviously, if you're having to do readings, you have to remember that you might be reading for a situation that's very, very serious. You might be reading for a situation which requires you to understand that something very, very bad could be taking place. And this is the thing. You have to understand that, when you interpret things, you have to be very careful. You should be really careful, to consider all the possibilities. The Devil card is a Capricorn card. And so, Jesus's birthday was celebrated on the 25th of December. That's Capricorn season. Um, so yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How people want to, people who claim to be Christians, that people who claim to love Jesus, they claim to love God, but they'll play around with tarot and astrology, and they know that the Devil card is connected with Capricorn, with Jesus, right? Because of the idea of Christmas, 25th of December. So if Jesus comes back and he's like, "Hey, guess what? I've got devil horns now." People can be like, "Yeah, but you can't. Jesus isn't like that. You can't say Jesus is the devil." Well, you made. You know what I mean? Like, do you people give me any choice? That's the thing, right? Because people do. That's the thing. I'm God. Some people will call me Father, and some people will call me the devil. Some people will call me Satan. Those who don't like me will consider me to be Satan, the devil. And that's what I will be to them because that's what they deserve. And those who love me, I love them, and they will call me Father. So, I do both things. But obviously, the devil card, obviously, it can mean a lot of different things. A lot, it could be interpreted in many different ways. It could be things like, um, people who are evil, selfish, um, people who've got things like, you know, do, it could be talking about sex, it could be talking about, people with very bad intentions. Yeah, all kinds of things. Okay, so the next one we got is the Tower card. Okay, so the Tower. Um, yeah, I mean, well, this is very connected with sex magic because it represents the phallus, and it represents, it's symbolic of the phallus of destruction. And obviously that's connected with the idea of Taurus, the torn anus. It's sex magic. I mean, obviously, the idea of the Tower card is, destruction. Um, it's some sort of calamity, right? Some sort of big upheaval or something like that, right? Um, some sort of destruction. So the next one we got is the Star card. So yeah, the Star card is kind of interesting because, well, it's connected with Aquarius. Um, yeah. Hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of things I could say about this. I'm just trying to cover up. Hang on, let me just cover up. Yeah, yeah? Okay, so you can see that there's like these white stars. There's seven of them, right? Seven of these white stars, and then there's this gold star, which would be the eighth star. Well, I was born in 1987, so you got eight or seven, and obviously the tower deck is 7 and 8, isn't it? It's 78. Um, yeah, I mean she's pouring out water on the lands, and in the pool of water there. She's naked. Yeah, I mean this is interpreted as like faith. It's interpreted as um like healing. Um, I mean, how would I interpret this? I normally interpret this as someone who is someone who's in the spotlight. If someone's on YouTube as an example, and they've got 100,000 subscribers or something like that, or 1 million subscribers, or tens, or whatever, right? People, what do people call them? They call them a star, right? Um, yeah, yeah, that card can be interpreted in different ways. Um, Also, yeah, I mean the other thing about this as well is, the thing is, because on a clock, how if you have a 24-hour clock, well, 13 is 1, 14 is 2, 15 is 3, 16 is 4. And so there's this time magic. And time is a word that it's used as a way of binding. Okay? So for example, the emperor, that's me, is number 4. But if you think that, what's that on a 24-hour clock? Well, that's 16. And 16 is the tower, right? The destruction. Um, and 15, well, that would be the devil is connected with the empress, right? The devil. So yeah, I mean, there's all these magic spells, and they all connect. It's all about seeing how they connect through these different ways. Um, so we've got the moon card, number 18. I mean, obviously, the moon it means the butt, and what you eat or what you ate comes out of the moon, out of the butt, right? Number 18. And obviously that's connected with the lovers card, because Adam and Eve as the lovers card, in the lovers card, number 6. 18 is 6 p.m. So we've got the moon here. Yeah. Moon magic, illusions, reflecting the light of the sun. Then we got the sun card here, number 19. Um, yeah, I mean, most people interpret this as happiness, what makes you happy, sort of thing. It depicts this young child riding a horse. Um, and the thing about horse riding is it's sort of symbolic of sex. because the word whore is in the word horse, and riding is connected with sex. So, yeah, you need to be aware that, the reason this is this way, that you have to understand the magic of the card, is what I'm trying to say. So we got the Judgment card. Um, isn't it interesting? The idea. If someone says, "Oh, the world is under judgment," well, the World card is the card that comes after Judgment, right? So the world is, this is the thing, right? Because, here's the world. Oh, right. Yeah. Here's the World card, and here's Judgment. Here's 20, and here's 21, right? The world is under judgment. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyways, um, people like to interpret this as, oh, there's this awakening happening, or um, usually when this card comes out in a lot of readings, it's when this card comes out, a lot of this time it's, this is spirit trying to say to you, like, okay, this is something that really needs to be looked at. Something bad is probably happening. There's these people who are going to be judged for what they're doing wrong. But then most people will read, there are people who will read this like, oh yeah, there's this, you're just having an awakening or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like completely just, they're just not interested in the fact that God is judging, and that, spirit is trying to make the point, like, yeah, there's something bad there's something here that really needs to be looked at. But there are people who just all they're interested in really is manifesting. Um, yeah, I mean, there are these people. They're waking up from their graves. These are people. This is the people of the world. There are all these people. They don't know that they're dead. There are all these people. In the Bible, doesn't it? It talks about all these people will wake from their graves. I can't remember exactly where that is, but there's this idea of all these people will be raised from the dead. The fact is that most people on this planet who are technically alive and breathing, the thing is, spiritually, they're spiritually dead. And so, what this card, the magic of this card is, it's all these people who are spiritually dead waking up. And when they realize that it's the end of the world, they're being judged. And they're like, oh shit, I've lived my life completely wrong. Whoops. I was dead, but now I'm awake at the last moment. And it's like, okay, you're being judged now. You're a bit late. Sort of thing. This world card, number 21, is well, this, yeah. What else can I say about, actually, hang on, the Judgment card. So 20 is 8 p.m. Okay, 8 is connected with the Lust card, the Strength card, and the Justice, Adjustment and Justice. In the Thoth deck, this is called the Aeon card, and it has it's a very strange card to try to explain, but basically it's like Horus and like Nui or something like that, and Osiris, something like that, and it sort of has like this sort of like transgender, transsexual sort of theme to it. Yeah, and there's all this magic that's been done against me to, because obviously people will say, oh, is God a man, or is God a woman, is God female, or is he actually both? And so people have done all this magic against me, basically, just to try to confuse, am I male? Am I female? Am I this? Am I that? And a lot of magic's been done against me because of that. Um, I mean, there's a picture on my Facebook of me dressed in drag when I was 16 years old. My mum, who was a lesbian, she had a birthday party, and I was asked to dress in drag, and that was, yeah, I dressed in drag. I didn't have any issue with doing it at the time. I was just thought, yeah, I'll go on in for a laugh. I wasn't really worried. Um, I actually lost my virginity about that time. So I was with a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend at that time. And that was the time when I lost my virginity. So, I didn't feel, um, and my girlfriend at the time, that she wanted me to do it as well. And I did. So, yeah. Anyways, um, I was too drunk to worry about it. That's the thing, right? Because when I was younger, I used to I used to drink a lot of alcohol, and I used to do a lot of drugs. My mom did a lot of drugs. And so, yeah, I mean, I just didn't worry about those sort of, I mean, like, I didn't even like, yeah, just did it without thinking, really. Um, Anyways, so I've done the world card. Okay, so the world card, it depicts this woman in this ring in the sky. There's the four living creatures, and the four living creatures are talked about in Revelation chapter 4. They surround the throne of God. See what this depicts? It's my bum. This card is about my butthole. Why is it that way? Well, see, the world is called Earth, and Earth is soil. Soil is crap. This is what it is, right? If you ever heard someone say, "Oh, have you soiled yourself?" So if someone craps their pants, you would say, "Oh, you soiled yourself," as an example, right? Well, this is basically, I'm just trying to explain how this all connects together, right? So this card is about my butt. See, the world and the universe is connected to my butt. The physical world, the physical universe, it's all connected to my ass. Okay? And the card, all it does, it depicts a woman, um, um, in this ring, in a ring. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's basically what it is, right? It's the world, it's people. How did God form man, Adam, and how did God form Adam? How did he form Adam? Well, he created him from the dust of the ground and breathed life into his nostrils. Yeah. Okay, so I've explained the 22 cards of the major arcana. Now, I should probably point out that in the Thoth Tarot deck, those 22 cards, which, it's a bit different, it's not exactly the same. There's some differences, but it's mostly the same. It's not referred to as the major arcana. They're called the trump cards. And obviously the president of the United States of America, he's called Trump. Okay? So he has a magic surname. So, there's that magic connection that you need to be aware of. Trump. Trumps. I mean, who's Donald? Don means ruler. I'm God. So, you know, really, I'm Don Trump. That's really, that's the thing. People use magic names in order to try to acquire power from God. I mean, there are lots of examples. Um, yeah, Christopher, as an example, yeah, would be one. Or Aaliyah, Aaliyah Dana Houghton. Aaliyah, its interpretation is it means the most exalted one. So, this is the thing. People use word magic, and the thing is that people might enjoy manifestation power. People might enjoy the things that they get as a result of this magic that they do, whether they realize they're doing it or not. Um, but obviously, I'm God, and people should be aware of what I'm trying to make the people aware of what they're doing. Um, um, because if you're playing around in my energy and there, when you shouldn't be. I mean, the thing is that obviously, this is why I'm God. I require acknowledgement. I require people to give me the glory. Um, I live in a world of people who don't want to get. They want the complete opposite. They want to steal everything from me and leave me for dead. Um, and I'm in this battle where it's like, yeah, world, you're gonna have to give me some glory. You're gonna have to give me the glory. You're just gonna have to acknowledge that I'm God. Um, Otherwise, there's no, you're going to live in a world that you don't want to live in anymore because it will be so ruined, you won't even want to be alive anymore. So, let's keep going, shall we? I'll start off with the suit of pentacles. Okay, so we've got the Ace of Pentacles. So, the interesting thing about the Rider-Waite Tower deck is the way it depicts these ace cards. You see how it's a hand, it's coming out of a cloud. Yeah? So, it's that way because it's a magic thing. Because it's like the hand of God coming out of the sky saying, hey, look what I've got for you. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, and the earth idea, well, this is the pentagram, okay? It's the 5-pointed star. It's supposed to represent earth, air, fire, and water, the 4 elements. And the 5th element is called spirit. And obviously, the idea of whole or Holy Spirit, right? So I'm God, right? Where does earth exit my body? Well, it comes out of my butt. And that's a hole. I suppose, I've got my mouth, which is a hole, and I put food into it. Um, yeah. So, the things I consume, that's all magic, right? Everything I do is is basically magic. I mean, I live a very magical life, let's put it that way. Um, but the world is constantly trying to siphon my energy through spells. They do a lot of food spells against me and stuff like that. Um, yeah. Anyways, so the Ace of Pentacles, people, the way I interpret this, well, quite often it's just talking about butthole. I read this as, okay, this is talking about someone's butt. There's some type of butt thing, or it could be something to do with money or some new beginning. Um, but the magic of the card, well, the star, it's the idea of it is star, right? And that is that's connected with the butthole, the anus. Um, and because obviously it represents Earth, right? It's the Earth star. It's the star where Earth is involved. Yeah. Okay. Um. Okay, we've got the Two of Pentacles. Um. So this is connected with this is a Capricorn card. So this is connected with Capricorn. He looks strange, doesn't he? He's got that hat on his head. It almost looks like maybe like a penis and two bulls or something, doesn't it? It does look a bit strange. I mean, so he looks like he's this juggler guy. So you could talk, it has something to do with balance, or it could be connected with something like fornication. If someone sleeps around. Two of Pentacles. They have one sexual partner, and then they have another sexual partner, maybe another one, or something like that. This could be to do with alchemy as well. People who like to mix the pot, they like to stir the pot, they like to do or it could be multitasking, balance, something like that. Three of Pentacles, people working together. So obviously, yeah, this is, like I said, the Empress is number 3, isn't she? So the Pentacles is to do with Earth, and this is to do with working together. So, like I said, people they're trying to make the woman. I mean, this is the thing, right? Because I'm God, so the church is called the body of Christ, and is also called the bride of Christ. So, where is the bride of Christ? I'm not married. I'm not engaged to get married. I don't have a wedding booked or anything like that. Well, booked, yeah. Wedding booked. All right, yeah. I mean, go read the Bible. Yeah, that's a book, isn't it? It does talk about you getting married, doesn't it? But I don't have a wedding booked in the sense that in the regular sense how people would normally interpret that saying. But anyways, the Three of Pentacles, people working together. So 3 is associated with the Empress. Okay. Now the Four of Pentacles is is possessing, it's hoarding, it's holding on to stuff. It could be money, or it could be dirt, it could be trash. In my house, I've got a lot of trash. So the Four of Pentacles, the 4 is connected with the Emperor. And obviously, an emperor, well, if you think of like a king or an emperor, usually they amass things. They acquire lots of gold, expensive jewelry, palaces and property and land. That kind of just goes with the, with the type, with the job, right? If you're going to be the king or the emperor, then, well, yeah, chances are you're going to have a lot of money. Right, you're gonna have a lot of properties, and you have security. You'll have an army, protecting you, and all that kind of stuff. Right? It kind of goes with the job, doesn't it? With the position. Okay, the Five of Pentacles. Now this is interesting, isn't it? Because the Hierophant is connected with the Hierophant is number 5. And in this case, you can see that there's these people that they're outside of what looks like a church. Okay, it's got stained glass windows, which is symbolic of church windows. Yeah. So so what this is really saying is outside of the church. So not inside the church, outside of the church. And so, people will interpret this as, oh, being left out in the cold. So, for instance, people do that to me, right? They don't want to know me. They think I'm a loser, or, they don't want to associate with me. So that would be leaving me out in the cold. Five of Pentacles is also, the five is considered change. People read this as financial hardship. Someone loses all their money, as an example. Five of Pentacles. Which is interesting, isn't it? Because what did Jesus say to people? He said, "Oh, go sell all your belongings and follow me." Um, so yeah, I never thought of that before, in terms of this card. But anyways, um, yeah. So the Hierophant, people will interpret that as the Pope or the High Priest, God, Church. But this one, this Five of Pentacles is basically saying, well, it's outside of the church. I mean, that's interesting because, that's sort of interesting as well because, the pentacle represents Earth. And obviously, Earth is, is connected with the idea of the world. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways. Well, that's the thing, right? Because obviously spiritual isn't physical, is it? Yeah. Jesus explained, like, you're either of the world or you're of the Spirit of God, right? You either have the Holy Spirit or you're of the world, the earth, the physical matter, which is what's the problem with this world. The world is just completely physically minded. It's just completely, people who there are plenty of people who like to say that they're spiritual. They like to pretend that they're spiritual, when they are very materialistic. They obsess over objects. It's very strange. Anyways, from my perspective, it's very strange. Yeah. So the Six of Pentacles. Yeah, it's like this sharing. It's this person holding a pair of scales, handing out money to these beggars. And so, it's connected with the idea of sharing. So for instance, if I share a video on YouTube or Facebook, Six of Pentacles. Um, but this can also be, the way this can be interpreted is because obviously the six is connected with the idea of, well, it's connected with the Lovers card. Okay, Adam and Eve and the snake, right? The serpent. And so, so if you combine the idea of sharing and the Lovers, then this is sort of connected with the idea, and also there's the Six of Cups, which depicts children. It's the only card in this deck that depicts children. And so there's this magic that hides child sex trafficking. Okay? Because Six of Pentacles is sharing, and it's connected with the Lovers, and the six is also connected with children. Okay? And then there's the Six of Wands card, which is, it's people, it's men riding horses, and it's connected with the idea of victory. And then there's the Six of Swords, which is to do with moving on. It's in a boat and going away on a boat. Which is, this is the thing, right? Because I'm God, and obviously, I want to be in a loving relationship, and the Six of Swords is going away, moving on, bye bye. Just like Adam and Eve, it was like, yeah, bye bye, see you later. So we've got the Seven of Pentacles. So 7 is the Chariot card in the Major Arcana. Here's this guy, he's working, he's sort of like, he looks like he's having some sort of harvest, a farmer, work. Yeah, interestingly, in the Thoth deck, the title of the card is Failure. Failure. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Because, I mean, obviously, a chariot, a car, they break down sometimes, don't they? Failure. They need repairs or whatever. Yeah. So that's the Seven of Pentacles. If I show you the Eight of Pentacles, well, this is someone who's working, right? Look what he's doing. He's chiseling away at a pentacle. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously here, so you got the Six of Pentacles in the bush, and then there's this pentacle that's between his legs. I mean, that's the thing, right? If he just... Well, that's the thing, it's between his legs, which is kind of weird. Yeah. And then the Eight of Pentacles, well, that's dedication to craft. So, usually when I see this card, it's like, okay, someone's doing magic. This has to do with doing magic. Dedication to craft. That's usually how I depict it. And obviously 8 is, it's a food word. 9 of Pentacles, this is someone who's, considered independently wealthy. Quite often, there are a lot of people, often I'll see this in readings. It's like, well, if someone is, having different sexual partners, they're just having a life of being independently wealthy, various sexual partners. This can come out quite a lot. Basically, it's independence and it's wealth, right? I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, and then there's the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles. Yeah. I mean, it's in the shape of the Kabbalah tree or something like that, and it's basically saying, oh well, I've got everything. What I mean? It's it's fortune, it's family. You've got all the material possessions you want, sort of thing. Rich people. People who are, for instance, very rich celebrities. This will come out for them very often. Yeah. The Ten of Pentacles. Okay. Page of Pentacles. Well, a page, so yeah, the Page of Pentacles. Yeah, I mean, usually this is just someone who doesn't really have lots of money. Someone who's just maybe someone who's got like an average. Someone who's got an average amount of wealth, I suppose, or less than average. Or it could be this can also be talking about a child. as well, because obviously, children don't have a lot of money. So yeah, a Page of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles. Well, it could be talking about someone trying to, um, you know, it's they're moving, right, and there's the Earth, the Pentacle. They could be, someone going to deliver something, or it could have something to do with going to do business, trying to make money, um, or it could mean sex as well, because the riding on the horse and the star, the Earth star. Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, I mean, a woman with plenty of money, probably, or she's a Earth sign, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. Then we've got the King of Pentacles. Yeah, so Earth sign, rich guy. It can also depict a guy who's had a lot of sexual partners. So if someone's had a lot of butt, then he might be considered a King of Pentacles, in the sense that he's had a lot of butt. Okay. Okay, so the Ace of Swords. So, the thing about this is, someone's got a sore butt, a sore ass. They've got an ass which is sore, right? I mean, this is also to do with logic and communication. Yeah. I mean, a sword is something you use to do battle with. Yeah. I mean, usually a sword is, if you're going into a battle, a life or death battle, or you're like yeah, or you're like a security guard or something like that, right? Like in the old days, you might have, if you were a security guard from hundreds of years ago, maybe you would have carried a sword. Ace is just another way of saying ass, basically. Yeah. So the Two of Swords, I've already explained this one. She's blindfolded. She can't see, but the sea is behind her. But her arms are an X shape. There's that crescent moon up there again. And obviously the 2 is connected with Pooh, is connected with the High Priestess, is connected with the butthole. So, when this card can come out, it can also be talking about someone who's got a sore butt. It's a sex magic thing. The Three of Swords, well, there's that, the heart in the sky with the, it's sort of like saying, oh, it's God's heart. It's God's heart is up in the sky, and this is God's heartbreak. It's God's grief. And obviously 3 is connected with the Empress. The Four of Swords, the lying, right? So there's this lying down. Interestingly enough, it's actually you can see that stained glass window there, and so that suggests it's like inside of a church. I mean, to me, that looks like one of those, what are they called? I always forget what they call, like, what do they call them? I mean, to me, that looks like a stone. It looks like that's made, this is like someone's, like, what do you call it? Like a coffin. And so, like, the dead person is inside, and then this is like the statue. Well, this is the representation of them on top. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I see this card. This is actually stone. So this isn't even really, this is a dead person in like inside of a church. there's like maybe like a saint in there who died, and this is saying, this is who's in here, and they're lying down. Um, yeah, and that's, the thing is, it's connected with the idea of death, lying, as in lying down, or speaking falsely. Um, yeah, and it's inside the church, which is, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Because obviously, the book of Revelation, it talks about, how people will rest from their works. In the end times, it'll be like, yeah, um, God's people will will find rest. Yeah. Mm, okay. So we've got the Five of Swords. So the five is the Hierophant card, and this is this depicts like some sort of, like there was some sort of conflict or defeat. Although it's not very clear exactly, but this is what the card's supposed to mean. It's supposed to depict like, these people were in a battle with this guy, and this guy has defeated them, and they've put down their swords and they've walked away. So, um, and that's the thing, right? Because obviously, the church, God, Jesus is the truth, right? I'm God, I'm the truth. And so logic and communication is how I defeat people. And so the fight, and this is the magic of this card, isn't it? It's there's this defeat, and this is to do with logic and communication, and it's connected with the Hierophant, five. And obviously the Hierophant card, obviously it's a mixed idea. It's either, is it the High Priest of the cult of Demeter? Is it something to do with Taurus, the bull, or is it the Pope? Is it the church? Is it God? Is it religion, or is it some cult? Nobody really knows. I mean, that's the thing. That's the card. It's a very confused card. Obviously, there's a lot of confusion there, and that's like why I'm doing this video. This is why I'm explaining why, uh, God finds these cards to be problematic, and I'm trying to explain why they're problematic. Six of Swords. So moving on, right? So I get in a loving relationship, or I get in a relationship with a woman, and it's like, and then there's this communication. It's like, oh, moving on. There's this magic battle. It's Do you love God? Oh yeah, I left him. Oh yeah, do you love God? Oh yeah, I broke his heart. Yeah, I'm the Empress because I broke God's heart. Look at me, I'm so special. There's all this weird, it's bad magic. It's magic designed to harm me. It's designed to siphon energy from me. It's designed to try to say that I'm a liar. It's trying to say that, and it's trying to hurt me through relationships. And it's trying to split my energy into all these different categories, all these different all these different zodiac signs. People will be like, oh yeah, but you can't be that because you're a Scorpio. You're not the sun. I'm Leo. So people will say, oh, Leo's the sun, or Aries is the emperor, or the hangman's Pisces, or you know what I mean. It's like, if you can't be both, you can only be one. Yeah. This is what it's all about. It's all about trying to take what is mine and cut it into 12 segments, and just hand it out to anybody who wants it. Because people want my energy. So, that's the Six of Swords card. Yeah. The Seven of Swords is this sneaky deception. So obviously I explained, seven's connected with the chariot, and the chariot is connected with the Merkaba, so the chariot of God. Now, you see, people try to pretend that they're me, and then people they want to be in my bed. That's the thing, right? People want my manifestation power, they want my wealth, they want my fortune, they want my status, they want, the sexual relationships that belong to me, they want my bed, they want my car, they want my house, they want everything that belongs to me. They want to steal everything from me. And the result of that is that those people who try to do that to me will get destroyed because they're thieves. Very simple. 8 of Swords. So obviously 8 is a food word. So the universe is connected to my ass, my shit. People like to talk shit. And if you talk shit, you're lying. You're interfering. People lie about me a lot. They are, and the thing is that 8 is associated with strength, is associated with lust, is associated with adjustment or justice, and and Leo is also associated with the sun. And people like to, so people, this is the thing, people are trying to get into my energy by talking shit about me and lying about me all the time. 8 of Swords, interference, food magic, shit magic, sex magic, BDSM. 2 of Swords, not seeing the truth, blindfolded. I mean, there's so many things that could be said about that. The 9 of Swords. Well, the 9 is the Hermit. Okay, I behave like a hermit. I'm a Virgo moon. The Hermit is is a Virgo card. This is to do with logic and communications. I live in a place called Weston-super-Mare, and very often I stay up all night long. Nightmare. Night Weston-super-Mare. Nightmare. This is connected with cruelty, people speaking badly about someone. If someone is, if someone is being called lots of bad, if someone's being lied about, being talked badly about, this person's having stress, they're having worries, they can't sleep at night, they feel horrible. The 9 of Swords. 10 of Swords. Well, this is the thing. Does X mean Christ? Does X mean ex-girlfriend? Does it mean ex-friend? What does it mean? Are we talking about numbers? Are we talking about names? What are we talking about? What's X? Are we talking about treasure? Are we talking about the ultimate truth? Because this is number 10. This is the ultimate truth, number 10. You can't get more truth than this. The guy's been backstabbed to death. He's dead. He's death. Scorpio. All right, that's what I am, right? Oh, yeah. So Page of Swords. Well, Page of Swords is an interesting one. You notice how, the symbol for Facebook, it almost looks a bit like that, doesn't it? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So that's the thing, right? Web page, or, in a book, you got pages, right? The Bible's full of pages, isn't it? But normally, if I see this card, I think, well, someone's an idiot, right? Well, it could mean, a child, because children don't, young people, they don't know very much. So, they sort of fall into this category of Page of Swords. In fact, most people on this planet are Page of Swords. I mean, this is the magic of the thing, right? Because it's the Bible that's magic. The Bible is full of, I mean, you could say that the Bible is a book of spells. I mean, that's basically what, people, witches and wizards and warlocks and whatever, they'll buy books. They might buy a book like a grimoire, or, I don't know, a book of shadows, or a book of spells. Well, what's a book of spells? A Bible's a book of spells, isn't it? It's exactly what it is. Um, I mean, you could call it a book of spells, because technically that's correct in some sense, right? Um, Anyways, Page of Swords. So this, normally if this was for if I was reading for an adult and I said, "Oh, what kind of person is this?" and it said they're a Page of Swords, well, I think, well, they're an idiot then, aren't they? They don't know very much. But I think this is, the world. It wants to be dumb. The world wants to be dumb. I mean, the world is, it is full of liars, con artists. Um, yeah, Page of Swords. Um, okay. Knight of Swords. So moving fast to communicate, going into battle. This is fast moving. Incoming messages, something like that, right? Um, the Knight of Swords, and I mean that's it can also be sex as well, because like maybe when you go to bed at night, right, and then you wake up the next morning and you're also Knight of Swords. Okay, and then you got the Queen of Swords. Um, yeah, I mean, the soar, or I mean that's the thing, right? Because you got soar, or because to soar, like a bird or a plane will soar into the sky, or you might be sore as in like you're having pain, or maybe you're sordid, sordid behavior. So you might behave in a sordid way, or or maybe you're very intelligent, maybe you're very smart, or or perhaps you know you might. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of women that would like to be the Queen of Swords. They want to be in a position of intellectual authority. There are a lot of women who want to be seen, want to be the intellectual authority figure. And there are plenty of women I hear complain about, the church. They complain about God. They complain about the Bible. They complain about the patriarchy. They can't accept that. They struggle to accept what God wants. Um, yeah. King of Swords. Yeah, that's me. Not gonna lie. Ace of Wands. Well, the Ace of Wands. It's the wand is. It's symbolizes the phallus. Yeah. Um, whether it's a wand or a staff. Um, Candle. Candle can also be obviously there are different tarot decks. They can have different objects in them, and so yeah. Um, it's interesting. I've got a Masonic tarot deck, and in that one, the fire element. So the wand is the fire element in this deck, but in the Masonic deck, is actually represented by gold. And yeah, which is rather strange. Yeah, it's a bit different. So the Ace of Wands, is to do with fire, passion, and will. So if you're passionate about something, you're on fire about it or something. You have a lot of fire for that thing. Ace of Wands. It can also mean sodomy. Ass of Phallus. Ass of Phallus, yeah. The Two of Wands, well, there's another, it's also connected with it's a sex magic. It can be sex magic. It could be planning. It could be, the title of this is Dominion in the Thoth deck. So, this is to do with, this is connected with sodomy and control. Because it's called, he's holding that globe in his hand as if he like controls the world, right? And the Two of Wands is basically saying, well, sodomy. Oh, you want to rule the world, do you? All right, well, I guess just do a bit of sodomy then, huh? That's what this is what the magic of the card is. I'm just trying to explain it to you. Three of Wands. Well, because obviously the High Priestess, she's number 2, and there's 3. The Empress is number 3. So the butt looks like a number 3, doesn't it? And so that's another reason why people do. Women will do or yeah. I mean, people do sodomy, sex magic. 3, this is to do with going out to do something. This is manifesting. Someone who's a manifester, someone who's into doing sex magic and trying to manifest. I want money, I want relationships, I want sex, I want to be happy, I want 10 of cups, blah, 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 blah. I want a nice house. I want a nice car. I want a nice life. I want to go on holiday. I want to do this. I want to do that. They're just constantly trying to manifest things. Yeah. 3 of Wands. 4 of Wands, well, it just shows like what looks like a city, and these people who look happy. And it's got these 4 of Wands. And, well, what's the 4 of Wands? Well, the Emperor is number 4. So, this is connected with the idea of, it's the wand of the Emperor, of the Ram, the Aries. Yeah. This could be just say, this could be talking about community or society. Happy home. I mean, that could just be like a castle, couldn't it? I mean, is that a city, or is it like or is that just someone's just gigantic castle? Maybe that's like the king's palace or something. I don't know, or his castle. 5 of Wands. Well, there's this competition. It's a magic battle. So the idea is, the Hierophant is, the Hierophant card is a Taurus zodiac sign. It's connected with Taurus, and the wand is the phallus. And so you got all these people who want to do sex magic, and they all want to compete. They all want the 10 of Pentacles. They all want to manifest all their dreams and desires. They don't want God. They just want to, people want to do Taurus sex magic or Hierophant sex magic. Everyone wants to be the high priest of the sodomite false church. Do you know what I'm saying, right? Sex magic. So, like I explained with the 6, the 6 is the Lover's card, or it's Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and there's the serpent, and blah blah blah. Here's the Victory. This is called the Victory card. There's like this rider procession. And it symbolizes. It's supposed to show a victory procession. So this is the thing. People want to. This is about. It's sex magic victory is what it is, right? It's sex magic victory. That's it. That's the magic of the card. Okay. I mean, obviously this could come out and it could be like, oh, victory, like in a genuine sense. But the way people try to get into the energy of this card is through sex magic. Okay. And in the Bible, if you read it, I mean, just all you have to do is read the book of Revelation. It talks about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The first one, he rides a white horse. Um, and there's the idea of sex magic in there. Okay, so the riding of the horse, right? And he's given a crown, and he goes off to conquer, and blah blah blah. Um, the problem I face is a world that I'll tell people that I'm God, and they're like, "Well, I don't find you attractive. I wouldn't want to have sex with you. Therefore, I won't believe that you're God, or I don't want to believe that you're God. Go away." That's my experience again and again and again and again and again. Yeah. Um, I'm God in a world that basically just says, "Well, whoever you are, we don't like you. Go away." Because I'm not in a sexual relationship. Um, well, I sort of am with the spirits that are around me, but not with a physical person. Um, yeah. Anyways, I'm trying to make a stand for myself, right? I'm trying to stand up and say, fight against, there's these people who won't, all these sex magicians, the Six of Wands, yeah, all these people who think they're going to do sex magic and get their victory. And, I'm making a stand. I'm saying, I'm standing up for myself. All right, the Seven of Wands. The seven is the Chariot. Now, the interesting thing about it, because I'm a Cancer rising, and Cancer is connected with the Chariot card, number 7, and obviously, the chariot, the bed, the place where the ride happens, sex. I'm a Cancer rising, and obviously, well, obviously, a man, he has a penis, and it goes up and it goes down, if you know what I'm saying. So Cancer rising, that's what I am. The Eight of Wands. Um, this is to do with this is a sex magic card. It could be to do oral or anal, because eight suggests something that went in the mouth and potentially came out of the anus, if you know what I'm saying. Or most people will interpret this as moving quickly or moving quickly towards something. And some people think of this as communication. I've noticed a few people, they like to say that this is, um, you know, incoming communication. I suppose you can read it that way. Yeah. I mean, obviously, fire to do with passion. Um, yeah, potentially. Yeah. Um, Air travel, like airplanes or something like that. Could be another thing. The Nine of Wands. Well, yeah. I mean, this is someone who's got a sore head and they're carrying on. The Hermit, number 9. Um, yeah. I mean, this is I feel like I'm in this energy. This did pop. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, my life's been very difficult, and I keep going, 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 trying to get a world, trying to get the world to understand who I am. Nine of Wands. And then we got the Ten of Wands. So the guy who's really struggling to move all those wands. He's totally exhausted. Um, yeah. Um, So for instance, a porn star, Ten of Wands. Why would they be Ten of Wands? Well, because they're involved with something that is exhausting. It's hardcore. 10 is the phallus. Yeah, well, no, the wand it represents the phallus of fire. Yeah, Ten of Wands. So, you know, why do people do sex magic? You know, I'm God, I'm exhausted, and then someone will try to pretend to be me by doing sex magic. You know, but obviously they enjoy, you know, what exhausts them, you know, and I don't do that. You know, it's them trying to imitate me through sex magic by using these cards. Page of Wands. Well, Page of Wands, you know, the page is, you know, obviously pages are pages. You know what page is, don't you? A web page or a page in a book. This could also be a young person, or it could be someone who is, you know, it could be someone who is maybe not very passionate, or you know, they're not full of fire or something like that, or I don't know. Or it could be someone who's just not very good with magic. You know, usually if I get a reading on a tarot reader and you know, I'm like, oh, so what kind of person, you know, what are they doing or who are they? And if this comes out and it says, you know, if it's trying to tell me, you know, I think, oh, well, they're a Page of Wands. You know, they're basically just an idiot playing around with fire. They don't really know what they're doing. But obviously, you know, the thing is about you know, some tarot readers, especially female tarot readers, they will look at, you know, the Page of Wands, Knight of Wands, King of Wands, and they try to think, oh right, so the King of Wands has a massive penis, and the Page of Wands has a small penis, because they think, you know, like, oh spirit, how big is this man's penis? Can you tell me, please? Yeah, that's kind of conversation. Well, people have. If you've watched tarot readings on YouTube, I mean, obviously there are a lot of people that what they're interested in is sex and money, sex and money, sex and money. That's all they're interested in. They don't care about truth. They just want to know, oh, when am I next going to have sex, and when am I going to be rich? Yeah, or is someone trying to do a magic? You know, oh, someone's trying to siphon my energy. Blah 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 blah. You know, I mean, most, you know, a lot of YouTube channels where it's like, it's constantly the same messages again and again and again and again. It's all about someone's trying to take someone's trying to take your energy. Someone's trying to take your energy. Someone's trying to take your energy. Oh, this is yours. You can't take this from me. Blah blah blah, or whatever, right? You know, people always say you. They never say I, do they? No, they don't. But anyways, hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Page of Wands, right? Page of Wands. Then we got the Knight of Wands. Well, you know, sex magic, blah blah blah. Or someone who's doing, maybe someone who's very passionate, or you know, someone who's off to have sex, or someone who's off to do magic or witchcraft or something like that. Queen of Wands. Well, you know, Queen of Wands. You know, a woman who is very passionate, fiery, lusty, that sort of thing. King of Wands. Yeah, I mean, you know, someone who is either a powerful magician, someone who's a powerful magician, or someone who has a lot of sex, someone who has a lot of sex with different women or different partners. Yeah, and also, I mean, obviously gay as well. I mean, obviously, you know, a gay guy could come out as a Queen of Wands or a King of Wands, perhaps. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Ace of Cups. Yeah, so obviously, you know, it's supposed to depict the dove. And then, yeah. Obviously this is connected with, you know, people do sex magic. People do enemas, they do douching, they put water in their butts to clean them out. And you know, if you've ever, what's it called again? The you know, there's the Babylon. Is it the Babylonian creation story. It's called the Enuma Elish. Enuma Elish. Enuma Elish. Something like that. So it's enema. The word is spelled Enuma, as opposed to Enema. So Enuma or Enema Elish, right? Babylonian. So, that's connected with, it's word magic, okay? I mean, if you read the beginning of the creation story, it's talking about water and earth, right? The earth and the water. So the Ace of Cups, this one usually tricks me. This one, it's hard. It can be hard for me to read this, but new feelings, new emotions, a change of heart, or most people when they see this card, they say, "Oh, you've got a new love interest coming in. Oh, you got a new lover coming in," and that's I mean, I don't normally read it that way, but obviously this can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. Yeah. But that's the thing, this is connected with enemas and douching, and that's something I've actually done myself. So, yeah. Two of Cups. Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because an enema, in a sense, is a Two of Cups, right? So this is the interesting thing, obviously, because the other card, the Lover's card, it depicts Adam and Eve. But what does this depict? This doesn't depict Adam and Eve. It's it's a man and a woman. So it's a bit different, this card, isn't it? It's a bit different. The Three of Cups. So friends, celebration. Obviously, that's connected with the number of the Empress. So the party, the celebration, the friends, the Empress, and then the Four of Cups. There's this guy. He's sitting under a tree. There's the cup coming out of this cloud. Normally this is interpreted as self-serving disinterest, and it's like, well, I'm the emperor, I'm God, and this is this is the magic that's being done with my cups. I mean, this is the thing, right? The emperor. I mean, that's the thing. Think about it. There's, we have in this magic. We have the four elements, right? Earth, air, fire, and water. Right? You got the four suits. Pentacles, swords, wands, and cups. Hopefully I said them all. But yeah, the four suits and the four suits, the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Okay. But this is the thing, what does the emperor get? The emperor number 4. Then you got the Four of Pentacles, so that's hoarding, holding on to stuff, right? I am the Four of Pentacles. My body is the Four of Pentacles, right? But the world is full of hoarders. It's full of people who want to take everything, take everything, take everything. So this is the thing. It's a problem for me because lots of people want to be in this Four of Pentacles energy. The Four of Swords, is that someone who's dead? Is that someone who's lying? Or is that someone having a rest? Or is someone getting arrested and going to jail or prison? What else? The Four of Cups. Yeah, the Four of Cups. Well, the guy doesn't look very happy, does he? And what else is there? What's the other one then? So you got the Four of Wands. Right. So, my phallus is considered society. The society, people. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing as well, because there's that YouTuber called Moonlight Guidance. And there's a guy called well, his channel is called Eat, Read, Love Inc. And they do their videos. So they like to do timed videos, and there are various people who do it as well. But they'll put out a video, a tarot reading, and they'll do 11 minutes and 11 seconds, or they'll do 10 minutes and 10 seconds for their video because they're doing time magic. Well, this is the thing. I have a very untidy house. So, I need to tidy my house, right? So the four, or on the four, right? My wand is my D, and I need to tidy the house. And people keep trying to use timey magic, timey magic. 11, 11, 10, 10. Talking shit, endless amounts of shit. Okay, Five of Cups. So the Hierophant, or the High Priest, or the Pope, or God, or the Church, or whatever, Taurus, Five of Cups. Sadness, grief. This is a Scorpio card, actually. The Six of Cups. This is, well, it shows children. So people will interpret this as, oh, it's something in the past, or it's supposed to be like some sweet, loving moment. So this is, and obviously 6 is connected with the lovers. The 6 is the lovers card, but this, this depicts children, and so this is, when you see this card, pay very good attention to this card, because remember, there are children there, and how it's, you have to pay attention. Don't forget to pay attention to what this is really trying to tell you. Because tarot is used to hide sex crimes, people doing bad things. And this is the thing, right? Because obviously someone could walk down a shop or order on the internet, order themselves a tarot deck, buy some crystals, some candles, a pendulum, incense and sage bundles, and then, and they want to do all this stuff, messing around with magic, not really knowing what they're doing. And the thing is that you want messages from spirit, and spirit wants to tell you messages that are important. But what you think is important is how much money you have in the bank, or how many people you can screw, right? That kind of thing. Or how much money can you make on YouTube telling people what they want to hear. And why does the Holy Spirit want to help you with what you're trying to do when there are much bigger problems that need to be dealt with? Why, people want to do all kinds of horrible spell work against me. I mean, for instance, people like to, talk about Akashic records. Oh, yeah, someone's been searching around in your Akashic records, trying to look through all your information and blah blah blah. It's like, people want to try to do that to me. People want to dig around in my life. They want to be looking through my trash. I mean, that's basically what people try to do. People try to look through my trash. They want to try to steal my identity. They want to try to figure out how they can steal things from me and hurt me. Using all types of magic against me. Word magic and spells and binding rituals and sex magic. And people who I've known in my life, trying to use them as a way to attack me. whether it's, ex-friends or ex-girlfriends or whoever, family members. They want to conspire because people have they have a similar, they work together because they have the same objective, they have the same goal, which is to ruin me and steal from me. So they work together. Very simple. So the Seven of Cups, this is a Scorpio card, but obviously seven is connected with the Chariot. And so, the Chariot of Fire, the chariot that goes up to the heavens, right? And here's, the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups is, the Thoth deck, the title is Debauch. It's connected with debauchery. It's, it's sex magic. It's, lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, right? Lay up for yourselves treasure. Well, that's the thing. I'm God. I know there are a lot of people who would like to think, oh, God doesn't do sex. Why would he do sex? No, God wouldn't do that. Well, you're very wrong. It's a weird, like, how the human race is obsessed with sex and money and power. And they think, well, God wouldn't want that. Why would he want that? It's a bizarre thing, that, isn't it? It's a very strange thing. Seven of Cups, this is to do with confusion, illusion, multiple choices, fantasy, and sexual fantasy. So there's all these images, there's like the snake or the serpent. This is supposed to be like a ghost or the Holy Ghost. I'm not sure what that is. This is like some sort of like castle on a hill. It's like jewels. There's this sort of, I don't know what it's called, a laurel or something like that. And there's this like, I don't know, like a blue dragon or something. And this person is just looking at it like, oh, what's there? The magic of this card, and it's not only this card, people keep doing it. If I look at people's YouTube channels or whatever, people will do all kinds of magic, basically looking in the clouds. It's like, ooh, what's up here? Can I have a look around in heaven and see if I can find God's treasure somewhere and see if I can obtain it somehow? That's basic. People keep trying to break in. People keep trying to steal what doesn't belong to them. People create confusion. People create illusions. People, this is the thing as well, because, people might say, oh, what's wrong with sodomy? What's wrong with BDSM? What's wrong with, people doing these things? And it's like, well, you've stolen God's sexual fantasies. What happened is that God had sexual fantasies, and people were like, oh, let's copy God. And then it's like, oh, we're God now. This is the thing. It doesn't matter what I do. People will constantly. I could go in a direction that I completely don't want to go in, and people would still copy me. They'd still be like, oh, I'll be the same as you then, God. I'll just pretend I'm you. And obviously, there are many reasons for it as well, but, it could be, I can explain it in many different ways. Eight of Cups. Well, disappointment. Well, if you went to a cup and you found shit in it, would you be disappointed? Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? You'd walk away from it, wouldn't you? Eight of Cups. It could be to do with enemas and douching. It could be, this is the thing. The world, I want the world to give me water, but what it keeps wanting to do to me is give me shit in a cup. That's basically what the world does to me. It's like, I ask for a cup of water, and they say, oh, here you go. And I look in it, and it's shit in a cup. Eight of Cups. Nine of Cups. Well, he's just a guy on his own. Nine, the Hermit. Yeah. Um, yeah. Mm, yeah. So he's just, he's a person on their own, independent, happy, content, something like that. Ten of Cups card. Obviously, yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be like a rainbow, doesn't it? It's sort of connected with the rainbow, even though it doesn't look very rainbow-like. But it suggests that, it's an arch in the sky. Um, Man, woman, children, yeah, and obviously they got their backs turned in the image. They're looking the other way, which kind of suggests, well, that's the thing. The world is always trying to have its back turned to me, like I don't exist, or I'm not worth paying any attention to. And there are people who are happy. They're in the Ten of Cups, but they don't want to pay any attention to me, so they look the other way. That's not, obviously that's another way of looking at that card. Page of Cups. Well, usually a Page of Cups is someone who, if I needed emotional support, I wouldn't want to be around a person like this, because they behave like an asshole. They're not going to be able to give me emotional support. In fact, they're probably the reason I need emotional support. Knight of Cups. It could be romance, or it could be sex magic, anal. It could, because of the water, douching, enemas. Yeah, that sort of thing. Sex. Queen of Cups. She could just be. Well, she could be. Maybe she's just a water sign. Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, or she could be a very nice woman. She could be a very loving woman, nurturing woman, caring woman. Or she could be some total whore who does a lot of sex magic. King of Cups, yeah. Jesus Christ, King of Cups. I mean, this is the thing. How many people, how many readings are there where people keep talking about who's this King of Swords? Who's this King of Cups? Who is this? Who could this King of Cups or this King of Swords? Who could we be talking? Holy Spirit, who could we be talking about? Who's the King of Cups? Who's the King of Swords? Right. If you're actually, well, most people don't say Holy Spirit, but some do. Different readers say different things, don't they? They might say Spirit. What messages do you have? Or you might say Holy Spirit. What messages do you have? It doesn't. It's not always, people have different sayings, but Jesus Christ, King of Cups, King of Swords. I mean, this could be talking about a guy who, this could also be talking about a bad guy. Maybe he's an alcoholic. Or maybe he's a sex magician. Yeah, he could be a sex magician. He could be an alcoholic. He could be a Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Or it could be talking about Jesus Christ himself. Right? Okay, so I've done all the cards. So I just wanted to go through those cards. Obviously I'm not giving you a complete explanation of all the cards and all the interpretations. I mean, how do I... So when I do a reading, I want to be aware, when you're doing a reading, how you should read, in my opinion, is that, when you get the cards, be aware of all the different interpretations of the card. Be aware of the most common interpretations of the card. um, the most important interpretations of the card, but also understand the magic of the card and understand how people try to get into the energy of that card by doing witchcraft or sex magic or rituals that people use because people keep doing things to try to steal energy. And so, you have to understand that the cards don't show you everything. You know, they're only going to show you certain things. You have to be able to understand how people try to steal energy through, people masquerade, right? They try to pretend that they're something they're not by doing magic rituals, sex magic. Um, so, you know, when you're interpreting the cards, you have to be aware of that. If otherwise, you will make mistakes and you will miss things. You won't be able to see what's really going on, and you'll just have a false story that you put out. Um, yeah. My advice is really, being a tarot reader is not advisable. It's not advisable. I wouldn't advise you being a tarot reader. Um, but some tarot readers, as long as they understand who I am, then and um, if their intuition is good, then I don't see it as much of a problem. See, there's a lot of tarot readers who don't understand. They reject me, and because they reject me, their intuition or their entire intuition is all about rejecting me. Okay, so they're against me, and obviously I want to stop them. I need to stop that from happening because I don't need people talking badly about me. I don't need people telling lies about me. I don't want people trying to siphon my energy. I mean, obviously, I'm talking about tarot readers, but this also goes for lots of people who, all kinds of people. It could be Donald Trump, it could be some journalist, it could be some entertainer, it could be basically anyone who's on YouTube or on the internet who has, like a large number of subscribers, people doing all kinds of stuff. You can people do all kinds of magic, you know, that people mimic me, they impersonate me, or they get readings on, that they get readings, tarot readings, and they talk about me, or they twist my story. They talk about me like I'm the bad guy. I mean, how many readings are there on YouTube? Think about it. How many tarot readings are there on YouTube where it's like, who the heck's this King of Cups? Who the heck's this King of Swords? Why don't they just go away? I'm sick of this energy. I keep seeing these cards. Like, what did they want from me? Go away. How often have you seen that? There are multiple tarot readers where I see that again and 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 again. And it's basically every single reading that they do. And they just keep going because they're like, well, I want money in the bank. I've got 100,000 subscribers or I've got 200,000 subscribers. I'm just going to keep going because it pays my bills. And every reading is the same almost. Um, you know, you're either moving in a good direction, or you're in a or you're in a bad place, right? You're either moving in a positive direction where I'm acknowledged. Um, you know, I, I don't want you making videos about me, attacking me. I don't want to have to, check up on you and like, oh, what's this person been saying badly about, what kind of stories, what are they trying to twist? What kind of spells are they casting at me? I don't want to have to keep checking on people all the time. And that's the thing. There's so many people doing it. It's impossible for me to check everybody's videos. I simply go out, I just, I check on the people who I think I should check on. I don't have any time really to do, and that's the thing. I've done the best. I'm doing the best that I can with the time I've got. Um, so yeah, I mean, my suggestion is if that, if you feel like you would be of a benefit to me by carry on, if you feel like you would be a benefit to me as a tarot reader, rather than, if you then I don't, you can do that. um but yeah, my advice is zodiac sign readings are, they create more problems. That's the thing. Zodiac sign readings, because the zodiac wheel, it's all my energy, right? People will say, oh, I was born 14th of November 1987, therefore my sun sign is Scorpio, so I'm a Scorpio, so I'm not anything else, I'm a Scorpio. But obviously I've got a moon sign. I've got different placements, but my main sign, my birth sign, sun sign is Scorpio. um And so, it becomes a battle between all the other signs. And it's like, no, 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 no. This entire pie, all of this, is all mine. Like people, all they've done is, it's like, if I ordered a pizza for myself and it arrived at the house, and then there were 11 other people who came along and said, oh, we'll take 11 slices and we'll leave you with one slice. And it's like, no, no, no. This pizza's, it's all for me. It's not for all you people to just help yourselves. It's spell work designed to siphon energy from me, God. I mean, the reason, I was Jesus Christ. I died for I took the sins of the world. I was nailed to the cross. I gave people a way to build a relationship with me, God. And um and that's the thing. Obviously, um I mean, well, this, obviously I could talk about religion. Obviously there's the what people call the prosperity gospel, where there are churches where it's like, oh, God's going to give us loads of money and he's going to give us a nice house, and I'm going to have a nice wife or a nice husband, and I'm going to have lots of children, and I'm going to be extremely happy because we all believe in the prosperity gospel, blah 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 blah. Well, the truth is that people, God will give you what you need, um not necessarily what you want. So that's the thing, right? That's the thing. You have to understand that you can rely on God to give you what you need, but that's not always going to be what you want. And so that's that's what it's like being a Christian. Having faith in God, God will supply what you need. Um, but the thing is that there are people who want to try to manifest anything that they want from me. You know, they want the Ten of Pentacles, they want the mansion, they want, you know, the best sex that they can get with the hottest person that they can find, and as many people as they want, and all this kind of stuff. You know, people they just want to indulge. They lust after things that they shouldn't. Um, People are obsessed with stealing. And the thing is, people were supposed to, you know, this is the thing. I was sacrificed. I made sacrifices. You know, if you genuinely believe in God, and you believe that there's an afterlife, you believe that there's a chance that you could go to heaven, you know, you need to have a, you need a, your way to do that is establish a relationship with God, have faith, and, don't get tempted by all these things that are going to prevent you from getting to where you want to go, right? You want, yeah. Um, and that's there's, people think, oh well, I only, it's just, obviously atheists, they think, oh, well, you only live once, don't you? You've only got like what, 80 years on this planet, if that. So you might as well just screw around and do whatever you want while you're here. Well, people can choose to I mean, that's the thing. If you want to live forever, you want to go to heaven and live forever. What more do I have to say? Do you know what I mean? Lay up for yourself treasures in heaven. Yeah, lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Right? Did people miss that? Do you know what I mean? Jesus said those people, people who make big sacrifices. What was it that Jesus said? Anyone who leaves mother or father or husband or wife or child for me, will be rewarded very greatly. Yeah, basically. Um, that's the thing, right? If you live a life where you are prepared to make sacrifices, then, and if you love God and you're prepared to make sacrifices and do the right thing, then the rewards are great. So yeah, I thought I'd just point that out. So I've explained the cards and what I think of them and how people try to use them in a way that it's attacking me. It's trying to siphon my energy. It's trying to keep me stuck. It's trying to keep me stuck. It's trying to keep me isolated. And so obviously I have to point these things out. There are people who like to believe that the tarot deck is sacred, it's holy or something, or it's infallible or something, or people want to have all these ideas about the tarot deck, like it's this amazing deck of cards, it's so great. And the truth is that it's it's full of traps. It's full of all kinds of magic traps that people either ignore, or people won't acknowledge. I mean, there are tarot readers who know what they're doing is evil, but they don't care. They simply don't care. They're quite happy to try to exploit me in any way that they can. And obviously they'll get severely punished for what they're doing. So, yeah. What else was I going to say? Yeah, there was that woman in that video, she was talking about Alex in The Ordinary, and so there was this other woman, she was talking about the tarot deck, and she was saying, "Oh, it's only it's only a cardboard, bits of cardboard. There's no inherent power in the tarot deck. The power is in the is the reader has the reader has the power from God, basically." And it's like, well, yeah. Most tarot readers are constantly complaining and waffling on about people being energy vampires or siphoning energy. Well, yeah, that's exactly what the tarot deck is used for. It's used to siphon my energy again and again and again and again and again and again and again. I mean, look at the court cards. I mean, so you got the court cards, you got the Empress and the Emperor. Well, most men and most women are not emperors or empresses, are they? You're not. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's just an example. People have very wishful thinking. It's very obvious. I mean, how many people, they want to complain? How many people they like to call themselves the High Priestess or the Empress or Goddess? There are plenty of channels on YouTube of people who like to call themselves those types of things. And it's like, well, who made you the High Priestess? Um, who made you who? Where's your emperor then? Right? Which country you ruling? Which planet you ruling? Yeah, and women who just very they feel very free to just throw around that word goddess. Ooh, I'm a goddess. Blah 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 blah. I mean, yeah, I'm God. I'm calling myself God because I am God, right? I'm not just casually throwing it around like, oh yeah, I'm God. As in like I'm not really God, but I'm just saying that I'm God because I think I'm really important. Because I think I'm just more important than other people. No, it's not that. I'm actually God. That's the truth. I am God, and I have to say it because that's what I am. And the world is getting destroyed because people won't acknowledge me and give me the justice that I deserve. And the only way I can get the justice that I deserve and acknowledgement from people is by telling people who I am. It's really that simple. Um, and I've been working for years trying to show people who I am, and I've done the best that I can. So, I mean, what happened in Venezuela? Yeah. Oh, you remember what happened in Turkey as well? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and how many people have died in Ukraine and Russia? And then obviously, in the Middle East as well, Israel, Gaza, Iran, Lebanon, all these different places where there's been disasters, war. Let's not forget about the pandemic. Um, yeah, I mean, there's been so many bad things that have been happening, and I've been warning people again and again and again. Oh, and let's not forget about all the plane crashes. And yeah, there's been a lot of plane. Remember? Do you remember all the plane crashes that were happening? Yeah, helicopter crashes. Linda from Linda Likes Tarot. You remember there was that tsunami. There was a tsunami that was like it was there was a big earthquake under the ocean. I think it was what was it? It was between like Russia and Japan. Or was Yeah, it was like I don't know. I can't remember exactly where it was. I think it was like between Russia. Oh, I can't remember. It was near Russia. I think it was. This was probably like several months ago. It was probably about a year ago or something. I don't remember exactly. But anyways, it caused, and there was a tsunami warning in California. They thought it would probably be like 1 meter high or something like that, but I don't think really much happened, really. But yeah, mm, yeah. Well, I'm at the center of all these things. You see, um, you might. This is what's going to keep happening. Okay, people either give me what I want, or people lose everything. So, um, I mean, the worst that can happen to me is that I die and I go to heaven. I go back to where I came from, and that's that. Um, that's basically as bad as it can get for me, in my opinion. So, I don't really have much to worry about. I mean, obviously, spending all this time trying to battle with people is it gets very tiring and boring, having to deal with the same problem again and again and again and again, and just having to just um, fight people who rely on the most ridiculous, stupid magic ever. I mean, it's like people have, it's just people will use any trick that they can find to try to beat me. Any dumb kind of not something doesn't even you would see it, you would just think, how does that even make sense? Like, why do you know what I mean? Like, what? But people just use all sorts of crazy word magic to try to evade me. They always want to try to get around me, circumvent me somehow. They're always trying to. Yeah. Anyways, I have explained enough for this video, so I will finish here. Okay.